I'll start tonight's show by inviting you to play a game of Broken Borders Bingo. Abdul Aidi is the asylum seeker on the run, OK? So let's play. Did he come in the back of a lorry? Tick, yes. Did he fail his asylum application but was able to stay? Tick, yes. Is he a sex offender? Tick. Yeah, there we go. Did he convert to Christianity to claim he'd face persecution? Oh, yes, he did. Is he violent? Yep, there he is. Can we still now not deport him? Tick. Oh, there we go. He's still got the full house, hasn't he, people? He's done it. Abdul Aidi has done it. This is a watershed moment, OK? A catalogue of people and institutions must now be held to account and real change enforced. Firstly, the role of the Church of England and Archbishop Justin Welby. Is the C of E complicit in helping asylum seekers fake claims by pretending to convert to Christianity? The Liverpool maternity hospital bomber was Syrian. He pretended to be a Christian to claim that he'd be persecuted if we returned him. Now, Abdul Aidi also pretended to convert to Christianity, according to reports, after 2 failed asylum bids, but was reportedly still a practising Muslim. The Archbishop says that the Rwanda plan is against the judgment of God. He thinks that people who arrive here illegally are our responsibility. Does that not imply that men of the cloth now have carte blanche to do everything they can to keep these people in the country? We need to know how many asylum seekers claim to have converted to Christianity, what checks are done on them to make sure it's true, what repercussions are there for people in the church when this goes wrong. This is a vital point. Ezedi created his asylum claim whilst living in the UK. He created the reason he was granted asylum by using the Church of England, certainly as one of the main reasons. Next, the role of tribunals and judges. The Home Office actually did its job here. They rejected him twice, they didn't want him, and then some judges decided that he could stay. Next, it's the role of our politicians. We've got Labour Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper with the refugees welcome sign. I mean, there's no deterrent there, is there? And here's Caroline Noakes, Conservative MP, on the BBC last night.
Stark reality is that every day women will face misogyny and microaggressions. If you're a woman of colour, it will be worse. And we have to do better at understanding the cultures that make men think that's okay. It's not okay, and actually you can see a pattern of behaviours that lead to really horrific crime.
So she's talking about microaggressions and racial bias there. I think that's pathetic. An asylum seeker that her government allowed in, allegedly, doused a woman and some children with acid, and that's her response. But we see this all the time. David Amos's death was used to clamp down on social media. Mike Freer's resignation results in a call for MPs to speak more nicely to each other. They're both due to Islamism, OK, in some cases, all right? Our politicians are too weak. Next, the role of useful idiots looking to deflect. Former Chief Prosecutor Nazir Afzal says the problem is violence against women, not asylum seekers. Well, look, violence against women is obviously awful, OK? But the problem here really is about a violent sex offender being able to commit atrocities on our streets, possibly because they've come from cultures that might have racist, homophobic and misogynistic views. People on the left are now coming face to face with the fact that this country has actually imported a heck of a lot of anti-Semitic, homophobic, woman-hating, transphobic, backward people. And they wanted them here. Next, the role of the police. Why did it take the police so long to reveal the identity and photograph of Abdul Aidi? He got on public transport numerous times, apparently. If an urgent alert went out, I think there is a very good chance this man would now be in custody. Did not wanting to stoke racial tensions get in the way there, I wonder? I have a message for all of those different people and organisations and institutions and the web of human rights lawyers and activists behind them. They've led us to this situation. Do you not think you might have blood on your hands? But let's get the thoughts now of tonight's panel. We have former BBC chief political correspondent John Sargent. I do have GBNews star Alex Armstrong and Apprentice finalist social commentator Joanna Jargi. Thank you very much for joining us. Alex, I'll start with you. When it comes to situations like this, do you think that certain institutions now have blood on their hands?
Yeah, I mean, look, all the way from the police, the Home Office, the Church of England, there's a lot of people here and a lot of people in these institutions that need to be held accountable. We need to understand how the situation where the attacker was able to get away for so long, having his asylum denied twice, I think it was twice before he was allowed in.
Yeah. Twice.
And then being able to run on the streets and come all the way down from up north to come and commit this crime on innocent civilians in London. I mean, this is bonkers that we're allowing this.
Joanna, people allowed this to happen. People wanted these kind of people in the country, and now they're coming face to face with the reality of it, no?
Well, I think that that's actually quite unfair to say that people wanted these types of people based on one case. Let's be real. When it comes
to just one case.
Well, when it comes to acid attacks, for example, this has been going on in this country, and the rates of this are rising. So, you know, we see
and
that.
And
unless,
a lot of them?
Yeah, but unless you can actually give me stats to say that the majority of the people who are, you know, doing the acid attacks have come from the back of a lorry or from a dinghy, then I might actually, you know, take some people seriously when it comes to it.
What about certain cultures, though? I mean, it's a bit of a cultural thing, isn't it?
Why is it a cultural thing?
Well, it is. When you do look at some of the very, very recent cases that have had acid attacks on the rise, it does tend to be from cultures where it's a shame and honour thing against women a lot of the time.
No, I think that where that has come from and that whole narrative is that we tend to see acid attacks come from certain types of countries in terms of their culture over there. That doesn't mean that, you know, the people who have actually come to this country as asylum seekers tend to be the people who are giving acid attacks. And I'll give you an example, actually. There was a really big story that was publicised. Fern McCann, who was on Towie, her boyfriend did an acid attack, and that was due to drug-related gangs. People do it for carjackings. So I think it's completely disingenuous to say that acid attacks are due to asylum seekers.
It's not just asylum seekers. I am talking about legal immigration there as well, to be fair. But, John, you know, we've just played Broken Borders Britain bingo there, really, with this chap. I mean, surely this has to be a watershed moment, really, now. Something has to be done about this. We can't have these people just constantly in this merry-go-round of gaming.
No, I agree. Lots of things got to be tightened up, and you're quite right to talk about the role of priests in this. The idea that, you know, that kind of young person is suddenly going to convert to Christianity seems implausible. I mean, it's all very well. It's time people open their eyes to the fact that it is another way of escaping the asylum procedure, because they can, in fact, be helped if a priest says to them, no, they're really good, you know, conscientious Christians. But I wouldn't believe that now, and I don't think most people in that position should believe that. They should be very careful about that. I think it's extremely important, though, to get to grips with why acid attacks are different from, say, attacks using knives. And one of the reasons is that with knives, you can show off and you can have these zombie knives and you can be sort of rather a gang leader. You've got all this equipment. You can't do the same with just a bottle of what looks like water, but in fact is acid. So concentrate on the fact that these attacks have increased with acid. Why? How can you make sure that's reduced? And how can you make sure, certainly in this case, the police not bothering to issue the photograph? Right through lunchtime, I was watching the news, thinking, come on now, just produce the picture. And they didn't until, wait for it, the news was over.
Yeah, great point that about the police there, I think.
Yeah, I think the Metropolitan Police have a lot to answer for in this, and they seem to be very hesitant. We saw that similar with the protests as well, not willing to share certain pictures of people. And I think we all know the reason why is because they were scared of being called racist or scared of racially profiling people. We just need to get on top of these things really quickly when there's someone on the loose.
I think we can't really jump to, you know, assumptions that it's because they're scared of being called racist, because the Metropolitan Police, especially when it comes to cases with women and violence against women, don't really have a great track record. So sometimes it fits the narrative to say, oh, they were just scared. Maybe they're just incompetent and they've got a history.
Well, that's absolutely true.
Really bad. So let's not.
There's certainly a strong argument for incompetence.
I agree with Joanna that our old friend incompetence comes up so often, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You have all these wonderful, clever arguments as to why they might have done this, but just sheer, oh, no, we're waiting, and we wait for this, and we haven't got that organised.
I do suspect once the attacks happen and they've spoken to the victim, they'll go, describe the victim to me. That can be information that's escalated very quickly to those that need to know it and distribute the pictures. The fact that it took so long is crazy. And there's got to be something there that's wrong. Why is there a hesitation? What is the hesitation about?
John, I am, in a morbid way, quite looking forward to the day that the left really meets the consequences of its own ideology. And as a woman, I'd be quite keen to get your views on whether or not you have concerns that we might be importing people from countries, legally or illegally, who really do treat women as second-class citizens.
I mean, I'm concerned when it comes to women being treated as second-class citizens, of course, but what I'm worried about as well equally is taking a group of people, lumping them all under one brush and pretending that... Because that's essentially racist, isn't it? That's essentially, you know, treating people as if, OK, I have an idea of what I think your culture is like. And every single culture has bad bits of it, OK? And every single, you know, pockets of society have different types of, you know, crimes and things like that. So I don't think that we should kind of take one pocket, one person, for example, who's done this, and paint the entire community under one brush.
Well, look, we don't have a lot of the recent data on acid attacks. There's some complicated reasons as to why, but up until 2017, 38% of the suspects of acid attacks were African Caribbean, should I say. 38% of the 32% were European white. So look, there's certainly something to say there about like what are the percentage of black communities, particularly where the attacks are happening in London, and what's the percentage of attackers. We can easily then say, well, that's a high percentage for that community, which makes up such a small...
30% that you just said are white European.
But the point is that there's a much smaller population of black people in the UK as there are white people. So you can start to see, yes, maybe there is a cultural issue there if the percentage is way higher.
Concentrate on the use of acid. It seems to me if you use acid, it's much more likely that it's premeditated in terms of what you then do with it. So it isn't someone getting into a wild rage and saying, get out my knife or get out my gun. This is someone saying, I'm going to get you and I'm going to spray stuff on you which will ruin your life. That's premeditated. I mean, it's more likely to be domestic.
Yeah, I spoke to a survivor of an acid attack last night at 10 p.m. on this show, actually, and it was a case of mistaken identity. Someone had driven 300 miles, knocked on his front door, he opened his front door, and he got a pint of sulphuric acid in the face, right? And he said that apparently, the law is at the moment, if you get caught with acid in a water bottle around London at the moment, presumably it will be across the UK as well, once, that's all right. You have to get caught with it twice before you actually get...
It also has to be in a public place.
Yeah.
So if you've got it at home, oh, well, just for ordinary what? Ordinary use? Why do you have this highly corrosive substance at home? It shouldn't matter whether it's public or private. Go after it. Photograph the people buying this stuff. Tighten the whole rules up. Make sure the whole system is very odd for someone saying, I want an acid, which will disfigure someone.
Yeah, I just want to tease ahead to something and get your reaction on it. I've done an interview with Robert Jenrick, the former immigration minister. I'm going to play that out for you at 10 o'clock. One of the key questions that I ask him is whether or not we will actually... Let's say we catch this particular individual, Abdul Aidi, and, you know, obviously if he is then proven to be responsible for the allegations that are against him at the moment, and we know that he's had a history of a sexual offence and that he had 2 failed asylum bids, etc., would we actually be able to deport him then? And, well, you'll find out what Robert Jenrick says about that. But, you know, do you think that if there's a chance that we can't, surely that makes it an absolute mockery of this situation?
Unequivocally, anyone that comes to this country, whether they are illegal immigrants or refugees or asylum seekers, and they break the law, there should be a zero-tolerance policy. You are automatically deported. You cannot take the goodwill of people in the country that you go to seek asylum and refuge and then break the customs and laws. It absolutely needs to be fixed.
Very quick.
No, well, that's great, the zero tolerance. What if the country refused to accept this person to go back to that country? I mean, you know, think practically. You know, it's all very well to say, do away with this, we shouldn't have this, we shouldn't have that. How are you actually going to carry this out through the courts, and in what sort of way, and how will you force people onto these planes?
Well, the courts is certainly a problem too.
I'll just ask quickly, do you think that this individual should be deported then?
I think potentially. I think that we should look into it, you know, but I think that, you know, all cases are different and we don't actually know enough about this individual yet. And he is actually technically still a suspect.
He is still a suspect. What we do know about him, though, is that he did fail his asylum application twice and then potentially lied about one of the reasons to keep him in the country and is guilty of a sexual offence. So there is that side of it.